Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So, I want to tell you guys that Kimchi Karen is an example of the propaganda. What Kimchi Karen has done is that she's taken her upbringing, which has made her Wonderbread white on the inside, and she's confessed to that. And I use the verb confess for a reason. Then used that to try to negate what we're saying about traditional women because her phenotype is not white. And she wants to sit up and say, well, I've never heard anybody talk bad about their women as much as I've heard black men talk about them. Well, Karen, if you're from the Midwest, and that's where you grew up, for one, how many Latin Americans were there? Mexican or not, otherwise, how many were there? And I'm sure by now there may be plenty, but I don't know what your age is. However, when you were growing up, how many were there? Next. Now that we got that out the way, you want to sit up and say, well, you black men really come down hard on, well, have you heard what black women say about black men? How come you haven't said anything about that? When are you going to say something about actual white guys that go to your home continent and actually do go either to, just to control the women for good reasons or bad, because the white women after whom you model yourself have run them off? Now what? See, as sad as it is, I have to admit, what it comes down to is that you simply, for whatever reason, don't want to see black men have options that'll treat us better. We have not been talking bad to you about black women a whole lot unless you're asking questions. We've been talking to each other, but it's on social media. And I mean, hell, the secret's out anyway. So we've been talking to each other on social media, and everybody's been able to hear it, largely because we're firing back as publicly as Boom Chic and Bonquish and Sophista Ratchet Sapphire have been sitting up and saying that we ain't it on national TV and on talk shows for 30 years and more. That's what's going on, Kimchi Karen. Excellent name, by the way. I can tell by the name you picked that you've been planning this for a long time. You don't want to come out and admit that in the end, we've been fighting back. Your sistren don't like that. And you decided to get on the wrong side of the fight because of a gender conflict. One of the things that does get me about this gentleman is that she got a lot of circulation. A whole lot of it. The good thing about it is that many of us did not spread her name. And I'm not even going to give her TikTok handle. People will find it anyway, but I'm not going to give a TikTok handle. I want to give a shout out to the guy that gave it to me so I could go in and take a look through some other things that she posted. Although, to be honest, I don't have time to go through all of them. Gentlemen, the next thing I wanted to tell you is that I am vaingloriously proud of many of you. Do you know why? I'm vaingloriously proud of many of you because one of the things that you guys have done as a whole is that you have refused especially in more recent years, you've been more choosy and more picky about with whom you even show yourselves. You've done well with that. You have gone to areas where you are appreciated. And this has caused you to be more appreciated in more areas. I'm glad to see this gentleman. That's smart. You guys have gone to places in which you go into places in which the women actually do have a preference for you. You've gone to the African enclaves in Latin America. You've gone to Southeast Asia, where the women who will bleach themselves still want you unbleached and all. where in order for the already naturally bleached out man to compete with you, he's got to bring a lot more money. And even then, she'll gladly separate him from his money so she can share it with you if she gets her choice, because you're select. You've gone where you're select. That's what you've done. You have gone to the continent. You paid attention, and but more importantly, it's where you have avoided. You have avoided in large numbers going to Europe thinking you're going to pick someone up. And if y'all have gone, you've pretty much done a good job of sharing information with each other about how that Western European woman is too, because she's still Western. You have avoided the Arab nations. You have avoided northern India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran. You've avoided those areas. And these are where you're not really that appreciated. And you've gone in smaller numbers to China or South Korea. And that's usually when you're going for a job. You're not going there thinking you're going to find somebody. I appreciate that. Because what this has done, and I've been going through Facebook and YouTube to see this, and what this has done is this has shown that you refuse to be underappreciated. What this has done is this has shown that you actually are not willing to go and chase down anyone that's uninterested in you. And you've gotten better about that over the last 2 years, let alone the last 5. You got much better about that. That man that was talking with that white chick in that car when she said, but most of us who grow up white aren't into black guys. And he was trying to debate and argue. Well, I understand he probably had experiences with the ones who were. I get that. I mean, he is a black man and he was tall. So the women that, the white women that were into black men, they're going to go to him like a lightning rod collects lightning. I get that. But he was trying to debate. She wasn't saying, listen, she wasn't telling him you're not attracting the exceptions. He obviously was. By definition, what she was saying is they're exceptions. But he wasn't passport anything. He wasn't any sort of BMPT, any sort of reblactriate. But those of us who are showing that we actually are, not only are we appreciated, the women in certain areas are showing that we're appreciated, but we're showing that that's where we're going to go when it comes time to find someone. That's what we're showing. We're not going to go into places where we're not and try to convince them to like us. That's something that moms and sistren are doing. That's what we've shown. I'm going to say this, though. We're going to have to keep in touch, gentlemen. Those of us who are Muslim are going to have to keep in touch. And those of us that are not are going to have to keep in touch, because our kids are going to need somebody to pair up with. Absolutely. I should say your kids. They're going to need somebody with whom to pair up. So, that's what's going on. I want you gentlemen to, I would say pat yourself on the back, but I want you guys to sort of give yourselves a head nod and understand that you've been doing this well so far so that you don't get thrown off balance later and forget to keep on that track. Sometimes you need to know what you're doing well so that you keep doing it. Stay on that, gentlemen. You go where you have to work, and you go where you have to find someone when it's that time. But just know that you're going to be blamed for a whole lot of stuff. And the sources are so biased in their blame that if they did have a legitimate reason for which to blame us, we would never know, because their bias makes them wrong in many cases. So I don't know what to tell you. When we actually do need correction, how are we going to know? But let's keep in touch, gentlemen. My Patreon is one place to do it. Edward Allen Anderson's Patreon is another. He doesn't ask for much. I'm sure that Tiger Hassan Johnson's is another. And we're going to have to start discussing some of these strategies to evade Sapphire's efforts to sabotage our trips. Don't sleep on that, gentlemen. They're going to do it. And some of you know what to do to avoid, and others of you aren't so sure. We need to trade ideas on this. so that each one of us is walking around with a list of ideas in our heads, so that our lady relatives are going to be well matched, and we'll be able to evade their efforts. Thanks for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual non-select male power just because she don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you again for choosing Jet Black Airways, where jet black is a verb. Keep jetting black with me until the wings and the wheels fall off. Justice forever.